I could have put crooked Hillary
I
in
respected
jail.
that you didn't, because what you said was it would be bad for the country.
No, I couldn't even imagine. You have, more importantly, the wife of the President of the United States of America going into jail. And if you ever saw when I'd say something about her, they'd all say, I didn't say it. I never said it. They say, lock her up, lock her up. And I'd always go, take it easy, just relax. We're going to win this thing. Take it easy, take it easy. And I'm telling you, I kept it down, just the opposite. Now they say, oh, Trump wanted to put her in jail. No, I saved her from going to jail.
It doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office. They were trying to get people to be supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. Women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician, completely full of shit. She's been full of shit.
Two of the most outspoken voices in politics and media join forces to take down a figure few thought would face this kind of challenge. Joe Rogan and Donald Trump launch an unfiltered attack on Hillary Clinton, exposing the cracks in her carefully built image. No politeness, no spin, just blunt truths about scandals, mistakes, and mischances. This isn't just a roast. It's the dismantling of a legacy far messier and more flawed than the one she's promoted for decades.
And I don't want Hillary Clinton to win. I think she's ridiculously awful, too.
I think a lot of people really disliked Hillary.
They should. She got a shitload of money from banks. She's completely full of shit. She didn't like gay marriage till 2013. She didn't agree with gay marriage till 2013. Like, what are you, a dinosaur?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you even care? Because she's not real. She didn't care. She just was doing what she thought would support her position.
Joe Rogan and President Donald Trump taking aim at Hillary Clinton is pure political demolition. No subtlety, no soft punches. Rogan isn't a polite host with pre-approved questions. He treats it like a championship fight, landing sharp comparisons, hard-hitting logic, and observations that make even loyal supporters uneasy. He's skilled at breaking a subject wide open and laying out the pieces with zero sugarcoating. In his view, Hillary's political career plays like a highlight reel of blunders, bad moves, and PR disasters so extreme that even a sitcom writer might tone them down.
Yeah, she really did say that.
Yeah, she really did say that after she just got done Gaddafi and then laughed about it.
We came, we saw, he died.
We came, we saw, he died. The fact that any human being would ever do that. By the way he died, that's some dark.
I ask a simple question. She's been doing this for 30 years. Why the hell didn't you do it over the last 15, 20 years? You were very much involved. Excuse me, my turn. You were very much involved in every aspect of this country. And you do have experience. I'd say the one thing you have over me is experience, but it's bad experience because what you've done has turned out badly. For 30 years, you've been in a position to help. And if you say that I use steel or I use something else, make it impossible for me to do that. I wouldn't mind.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Then there's Donald Trump. Not just the former president, but a man who roasts like it's his second job. Trump skips surgical precision and goes straight for the flamethrower. Where Rogan dissects, Trump detonates. He doesn't just revisit Hillary's 2016 loss. He turns it into a comedy festival. He describes her as a computer stuck in safe mode, running only outdated programs. Every decision, strategy, and bid for relevance becomes ammo in his non-stop attack. He's quick to remind everyone that her biggest achievement might be making losing to him look like an Olympic sport.
One of the loopholes he took advantage of when he claimed $1 billion loss that enabled him to avoid paying taxes.
Did you use that $916 million loss to avoid paying personal federal income taxes?
Of course I do. And so do all of her donors, or most of her donors. I know many of her donors. I pay tremendous numbers of taxes. I absolutely used it. And so did Warren Buffett. And so did George Soros. And so did many of the other people that Hillary is getting money from. She complains that Donald Trump took advantage of the tax cut. Why didn't she change it? Why didn't you change it when you were a senator? The reason you didn't is that all your friends take the same advantage that I do. And I do. You have provisions in the tax code that frankly we could change, but you wouldn't change it because all of these people give you the money so you can take negative ads on Donald Trump.
Rogan goes after her credibility, arguing that her shifting public positions seem less like growth and more like a GPS endlessly recalculating. He calls out the infamous email scandal as the kind of mistake you'd expect from someone who thought delete was a security plan. He mocks her attempts to appear relatable, saying they feel like they were tested in a corporate lab. And when she tries to connect with everyday Americans, It comes across less like real empathy and more like a marketing pitch that forgot to include voices from outside the political bubble.
I'm sure the Clintons were there at some point.
Maybe Bill.
Bill is so nice.
I went one time. Was he?
He's so nice. Like when I met
charming.
him, he is, and he's actually still kind of good looking. Like even for an older dude, yeah, why not? He's still so good looking, and she's just so miserable.
Well, she's publicly humiliated, and she thought that her big retribution would become president.
Trump, meanwhile, treats the whole event like a major personal victory. He recalls the debates as if they were contests where the outcome was never in doubt. He retells election night as a slow-motion scene where Hillary's blue wall collapsed completely. He mocks the post-election book tours and public appearances, describing them as a public therapy session broadcast nationwide. For Trump, Hillary isn't just a former rival. She's a lasting warning about what happens when political overconfidence runs headfirst into the reality of voters.
Fact check him in real time. Last time at the first debate, we had millions of people fact checking, so I expect we'll have millions more fact checking because, you know, it's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Rogan reviews her record from her Senate years to her time as Secretary of State, pointing to a series of decisions that aged poorly. He doesn't just mention Benghazi, he breaks it down, showing how it became a symbol of mismanagement and bad judgment. He brings up her speeches to Wall Street bankers, stressing how the gap between what she said publicly and privately made her a prime example of political double talk. Rogan's approach is to get the audience agreeing before delivering a punchline that makes them laugh at the absurdity. Trump focuses on image. He paints her as the face of the political establishment, someone who talks about change but delivers more bureaucracy. He mocks her campaign slogans, twisting them into jokes that feel more suited for a cheap t-shirt than a serious rally. He doesn't avoid personal digs, but each one circles back to the same point. She lost to him, and he repeats that fact like a magician performing the same trick, knowing the crowd will cheer every time.
Deleted 33,000 emails.
I provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related.
Several thousand work-related emails that were not among the group of 30,000 emails returned by Secretary Clinton.
When they rigged the DNC, they rigged the primaries so that Bernie Sanders was going to lose.
I thought using one device would be simpler.
She also used numerous mobile devices to send and to read email.
She had her people into the DNC way in advance. That Donna Brazile book about it is
Rogan takes aim at Hillary's media game, describing her as so scripted and tightly managed that any real spontaneity might throw her off completely. He mocks her awkward campaign moments, from staged candid photos to speeches that felt like they were written by a committee. He points out how her attempts to look modern and relatable often blew up in her face, creating internet memes faster than they won over voters. For Rogan, these aren't just slip-ups, they're signs of a deeper disconnect between her and the public. Trump, meanwhile, isn't interested in analysis. He's there to entertain. His jabs aren't subtle, they're meant to stick. He constantly reminds people that despite her decades of experience, vast political connections, and deep war chest, she still lost to him. To Trump, that's both hilarious and proof of her political weakness. Rogan's roast lands hardest when he likens Hillary's political brand to a company that refuses to update its outdated logo. He says she tried to ride the momentum of modern progressive movements, while still relying on the old establishment playbook. The result, in his view, was a candidate who managed to alienate both the energized base and the cautious middle. His mix of sharp political observation and comedy makes the roast sting and stick, while still feeling strangely informative.
If you watch the conversation between James Comey,
110 emails in 52 email chains have been determined by the owning agency to contain classified information.
When James Comey testified about what he did and what they found with the Hillary Clinton emails, and then her version of it.
I did not email any classified material to anyone. There is no classified material.
She's just a straight lie.
Trump's segment is all about showmanship. He's not trying to teach, he's there to entertain and dominate. Every line is a show of strength. Every insult a reminder that he still holds the crown from their political battle. He mocks her high-profile supporters, pointing out how their endorsements often seem to hurt more than help. He reminds the audience that even with the backing of the media, Hollywood, and the Democratic machine, she still lost. To Trump, it's the ultimate punchline in modern politics, and he delivers it with the timing of a stand-up comedian who knows the crowd is hooked. Rogan ends his roast by noting that Hillary's presence today is felt more in jokes than in serious policy debates, delivered with the amused tone of someone watching a decades-long refusal to adapt. Trump wraps up by casting Hillary as the ultimate what could have been story, except in his version, it's more what should never have been. He closes on a triumphant note, making sure no one forgets who walked away the winner.
November 5th will be the most important day, in my opinion, in the history of our country. Because if our country goes the wrong way with this election, I think this country is doomed.
What do you think your biggest challenge is with being elected?
Well, they've weaponized government. They've tried that one, and that drove me up. They're vicious people. These are vicious people. I could have done that to Hillary Clinton. What she did was so bad. She got a subpoena from the United States Congress, and she destroyed everything. You go to jail for that for years. And if you did it as a private person, you go to jail. But she destroyed everything. And I said, wouldn't it be terrible to have the wife of the President of the United States, a former President of the United States, being put in prison? And I meant that. I think it would be terrible.
If there's one point Rogan and Trump share in their roasts, it's that Hillary Clinton's political legacy is less about breaking new ground and more about stumbling over the road she tried to build. This isn't just comedy. It's a coordinated takedown, with Rogan's sharp precision and Trump's loud, unfiltered style blending into a performance that leaves her political image in ruins. For viewers, it's a clear message. When these two focus on the same target, there's no comeback, just the sound of laughter and a slow slide into irrelevance. Rogan likens her political brand to a vintage bottle no one actually drinks but keeps on display to seem sophisticated. Trump takes it further, tearing into her with blunt confidence, turning her long-winded talking points into overinflated balloons ready to burst. Together, they strip away decades of careful image crafting like peeling old wallpaper, exposing an outdated political foundation that's been cracking since the 1990s.
This one is wild. This is Hillary Clinton in like 2008, and Hillary Clinton saying some wild MAGA type shit.
Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked. They're gone. If they...
She's a Republican.
If they've been working and are law-abiding, we should say, here are the conditions for you staying. You have to pay a stiff fine because you came here illegally. You have to pay back taxes. And you have to try to learn English. And you have to wait in line.
You have to wait in line. You have to wait in line.
You couldn't believe that.
They tear through her public image as if it's paper thin, dragging out every failed reinvention. Hillary the reformer, Hillary the progressive, Hillary the women's champion. Each one as hollow and forgettable as an unwanted campaign ad. Rogan frames her as a Netflix series kept alive out of habit rather than merit. Trump compares her to the political version of Windows Vista, full of big promises but delivering only glitches and crashes at the worst moments. The hits keep coming, pounding her record like a worn-out punching bag. Rogan notes that her so-called evolution is little more than a change of costumes, shifting from power suit to relatable grandma cardigan without altering the storyline. Trump drives the point home, casting her as the permanent understudy in a political play where she'll never take the lead role. And when it seems like there's nothing left to add, both of them go straight for the jugular, reducing her entire career to a cautionary tale.
Doesn't mean that Hillary would have been a good choice either. She was a terrible choice. She's a corrupt politician, one of the most unlikable people that's ever run for office.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
They were trying to get people supporting her just because she's a woman. This is going to be her history. You know, women, ladies, I stand with her. So there's all these women that have this blind allegiance towards this career politician. It's completely full of shit. She's been full of shit forever.
Rogan casts her as a politician who dreamed of being a revolutionary, but ended up as little more than a trivia question. Trump drives it home, painting her as the clearest example of how ambition without real connection builds an empire on sand. You can almost feel the collapse happening piece by piece, as decades of carefully managed influence crumble into a heap of forgettable sound bites. This isn't just a roast. It's a full-scale demolition of her political myth, leaving only the remnants of what might have been. By the end, Hillary's image isn't just damaged. It's reduced to political dust, scattered by two relentless voices with no intention of letting her rebuild.
The day of the election, I think they had some crazy odds of Hillary winning. It was like in the 90%. We watched it from the Comedy Store. We did a podcast from the Comedy Store called the End of the World podcast. What was most fascinating was the podcast was over and then we all went to the bar, and on the television, Jake Tapper was just seriously bummed out, talking about Trump winning all these different states.
And Anderson, it is hard to think of a political comeback that is actually more significant than this one. I'm tempted to say Richard Nixon, but that really falls short of what Donald Trump has achieved.
I think for a lot of people, that was the end of trust in mainstream media. That was the first nail in the coffin. Those to be like, you were so wrong.
As the dust settles, the stage stands empty, the lights fade, and the only thing louder than the silence is the realization that this takedown will echo far longer than her last campaign slogan ever did. Hillary Clinton's political brand now sits like an unwanted museum exhibit, polished on the outside, hollow at the core. A relic from a time when political elites believed charisma was optional and accountability was a punchline. The only thing keeping it intact is the protective glass of media nostalgia, but time has a way of dulling the shine. When it does, the cracks will show. The applause that once followed her has faded into uneasy quiet, replaced by the truth that her so-called inevitability was never real. In the end, her legacy isn't defined by victories, but by the long shadow of chances she let slip away. As the roasts rang louder than any speech she ever gave, it became clear this wasn't just the end of a chapter, it was the slamming shut of the entire book, hard enough that the dust still hangs in the air.